degree. We want to go straight over to Local 10's Leanne Morajon, who is watching Proud Boy Enrique Tarrio come out. Let's listen in.
Can you clarify your role with the organization?
So 4 years ago, we decided that we weren't going to release publicly how our organization works. But I've said this before. I'd suggest to stop referring to me as ex-Proud Boy leader.
Okay, so I know in the beginning there was a little bit of confusion or uncertainty about how far-reaching the pardons would be. Mm-hmm. We know this was pretty much a pardon for everyone, a commutation for 14.
Yes.
Do you agree with that? Do you believe that some of those who were more violent should not have been? What are your thoughts?
So I'm not going to condone violence, but the process, it wasn't about what they did, it was about the process, how we went to trial, and how the DOJ prosecuted these cases and allowed for a biased jury, situations where the prosecutors were putting up evidence that would not be tolerated in any other district. And I honestly think that the prosecutors, Merrick Garland, Matthew Graves, they should be investigated. And if they committed any crimes, they should be prosecuted.
You said on InfoWars that they should pay the price. I believe that's what was your word. What do you believe? What does that look like?
Oh, sorry. I think justice put them through the same system that we went through. The same exact system that we went through, put them through. Because it wasn't, I'm glad that the J6 situation brought it to light. But this system's been rigged for a lot of people, for a lot of non-violent offenders. A lot of people are doing a lot of time, and those people are still in there. They don't get pardons.
A jury saw the evidence presented, however you feel about that evidence. They found you guilty of seditious conspiracy. Mm-hmm. What did they get wrong? What are they missing?
What do I feel like they got wrong? I feel like it wasn't fair to seat them as jurors when they obviously had bias. If anybody followed our trial, because it wasn't just my trial, it was 4 other gentlemen, they could have seen that these people, they had their biases. They said that to the judge, and the judge still sat them. They asked if they had any bias towards the Proud Boys or myself, and they said yes. And the judge asked them if they could get that and put their feelings aside. And they said no, they couldn't put it aside, and the judge rehabilitated those jurors and sat them on the jury. It's not a fair trial. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here if we would have had, at least, you want to arrest me? Fine. But give me a fair trial. Take it out of the district and give me Virginia. Give me somewhere that's fair. I'll take it. We wouldn't have this conversation because we wouldn't have been found guilty.
At your sentencing, you called January 6th a national embarrassment. Do you still feel that way?
I think it was a sad day in America, but I think it needed. Okay. I think politicians need to start listening to their constituents, and they're not.
Have you been in touch with any other pardoned January 6ers?
Yes, I've already talked to my 4 guys, and I've been in contact with a couple of other pardoned J6ers. They're super happy, and they're super excited to see their families.
Have you been reached out to by the White House or anyone related to President Trump about being part of his political sphere or anything like that?
I doubt that. He saw what was wrong, and he put it together. I'm not a politician. I'm just a regular street kid from Miami.
We have a Sunday show called This Week in South Florida with Glenn and Milberg. Would you want to come on and say more of your side?
I would like to come on. I don't know what I'm doing Sunday. I might be on the grill on Sunday.
All right.
Okay?
What are you going to do now when you see your mom?
I'm going to give her the biggest hug that I think I've ever given her in my life. I hope we have, medics on standby because I'm going to squeeze her really hard.
Yeah. What's your message to the president?
My message to the president is thank you. Thank you. Promises made, promises kept, and justice was served on January 21st, 2025. Thank you.
Mr. Tarrio, sorry.
Yes.
Are you finished?
Oh, okay.
I'm with the aviation department.
Okay.
So there's lots of security, so we can't stop when they are the media, or else people behind you will get delayed.
Okay.
So
We don't want that.
do you want to talk to the media?
And you are seeing live pictures right now. This is at Miami International Airport where Enrique Tarrio, who says that he doesn't want to be referred to as an ex-Proud Boy, has just landed in Miami, his hometown, after being locked up. He had received the longest sentence for his role in the January 6th Capitol attack.
And Leanne, I know you have had the opportunity now to speak to him. What is the situation? There are a lot of people. I saw him wave at some people. Are people shouting out to him at all or recognizing him?
We're actually exiting out through the security area past TSA. You can see there's a large group of media out here as well. And here is the reunion that he was waiting for, embracing his mother.
The hug he promised there, squeezing her as hard as he can.
And he talked about how,
Let's listen in.
Welcome home. Has Trump invited you to the White House?
Enrique Tarrio, Proud Boys leader, convicted of seditious conspiracy, now pardoned by President Trump, receiving a hero's welcome here at Miami International Airport. Arrivals here, he's embracing his attorney, he embraced his mother, his fiance. We heard cheers in the distance as folks who have caught wind of his arrival here at Miami International Airport are pleased to see that he's now a free man and have clapped. There are, of course, people who don't agree with this pardon.
A total of 15.
But we have not heard anyone protesting that yet. Let's see what else he has to say.
All right, Fox News, yeah. Here we go now.
I'm so glad for you. So happy.
Yeah, we have people behind us. Keep it moving, guys. Keep it moving. Let's go. Let's go. Stop I think I love
Back up!
family.
Back up! Hey! Back up! Back up! Get back!
It's becoming a little dangerous now as you have international media here who have gathered for Enrique Tarrio's arrival at Miami International Airport. The now pardoned Proud Boys member arriving just a short time ago into the terminal, walking past checkpoint 7 here at Miami International Airport. As you can see here, it is chaos. There is a huge crowd, not only of media, but people with their cell phones out, just in awe of what's happening. You can bet a lot of people who are just here to travel are very much caught off guard.
Fake news, the fake news. Channel 10 is fake news.
And all of this happening so quickly, right? I mean, had President Trump not won the election, Enrique Tarrio would still be serving time in prison, and he had been sentenced. He had been given the longest sentence in this. We were awaiting his arrival last night, actually, and he ended up coming this afternoon. And you can see certainly an emotional reunion and a lot of people wanting to hear his reaction. We've heard him in other interviews also thanking President Trump for this pardon. And he said that he was going to give his mom the biggest hug as promised. We witnessed that as well.
We saw that hug.
It sounds like he has some plans to grill for the weekend. But Leanne, as you had talked about, I mean, this is a controversial move. Some agree. It looked like he was greeted with cheers there at the airport. So those are people who support this decision. But can you talk a little bit about people who maybe feel like this wasn't the best choice? Could you explain why this was so controversial?
Absolutely. I mean, first you had the uncertainty of whether or not these pardons would happen and to what extent. Just really quickly, I want to address what we're seeing right now. Enrique Tarrio and his family and his attorney getting into that waiting SUV that's now speeding out of the airport. Things got pretty chaotic here, as I'm sure you could observe. I tried to stay a little bit outside of the scrum, if you will, since we were already, we got our chance to speak to him one-on-one. But as you could see there, I mean, just so many people. He was one of the highest profile people to be arrested in connection with January 6th. He had a role, according to the feds, in planning a lot of what you saw on that day. Even though he was not physically in Washington, D.C., he received the longest sentence. A jury found him guilty of seditious conspiracy. And here we are, just a couple of days after the election of Donald Trump, the inauguration of Donald Trump, as you mentioned, and he's a free man. There were a couple times yesterday where we thought he was arriving on a flight coming from a couple of possible connections. Those were delayed. We believe that not only a prolonged release from the prison was part of the reason why, but there's also some nasty weather, right, that we've been reporting is going on and affecting other parts of the country. Now we finally settled on this flight arriving at 3 o'clock or just after 3 o'clock here at MIA, arrived with no delays, taxied, arrived at the gate, and he was one of the first few people to get off of the plane, and we were able to speak to him basically immediately, and I'm sure you saw there live on TV. So he had a lot to say. Of course, he has feelings about how his trial went. He did, of course, face trial for those federal charges and found guilty of seditious conspiracy, but now he is a free man, pardoned back in South Florida, and we do expect to hear from him again tomorrow, as we have not received final word, but we have heard from family, from a public relations firm that's representing the family, that they do plan to hold an official press conference, a lot less chaotic, likely, than what we saw here today, but we should expect to hear more from Tarrio now that he is back in South Florida and been pardoned by President Trump.
And Leanne, it's such a good job getting that one-on-one before that chaos erupted outside of the airport there. And were you surprised with anything that he had to say, or is he pretty much sticking to what he's been saying all along, that he didn't mind being arrested? It was more the trial, and that he felt like he had a very unfair trial.
Well, yes, he did say that he felt like he did not get a fair shake. We know that he's made other public comments where he believes that because the trial was held in Washington, D.C., that any jury that he was going to sit in front of would not be fair to him. He believes, because he basically believes that there's too many Democrats there and people who would be predisposed to be against him just before hearing any of the evidence. That's what he believes. So he did face that jury that did convict him. I did ask him about remarks that he made at his sentencing, where he described the events of January 6th as a national embarrassment, despite the fact that what the evidence showed presented by the federal government was that he had hands in planning it, that he was communicating with other Proud Boys members and other people who were on the ground as all of it was unfolding. So you heard his answer about that there. He said he has not been reached out to by the Trump administration or anyone directly tied to the president. And he made it very clear that he is a member of the Proud Boys. And while he did not specify exactly where he lands or what exactly his role or title is with the organization, he does say that he is a member, and that it would be inaccurate to describe him as a former member or former leader of the Proud Boys.
Yeah, he said that loud and clear. He does not want to be called an ex-Proud Boy. And I just want to go over this again, Leanne. So he left a prison in Louisiana and then made his way to Dallas. And of course, here we know in Texas they've had severe weather, extreme weather with the winter storm. So we were waiting for his arrival. Can you talk a little bit? Again, I know it got interrupted with just all the chaos happening outside of the airport, but why this is such a controversial pardon? He was pardoned, a total of 1,500 people were pardoned. He was one of them. He was the most controversial one, some would argue. Can you explain why some people are in support of this and why others might feel like this was a wrong decision?
Well, we know that the extent of the pardons has been spoken again, been opposed now by police unions and other members of law enforcement who felt like they were the ones that were under attack largely during the Capitol breach. So a lot of people who have very strong opinions about what unfolded, but we will continue to cover this story.
All right, well, great job getting that one-on-one once again, Leanne. We'll let you go here, and we are going to take a quick break and be back with more news.